So let's go ahead and review how to log into HMH one more time. So remember, if you don't have that website saved, you're going to go to hmhco.com. On login up here in the top right corner. And then you're going to come down here to the center where it says Login to Ed. And then it's going to open a new tab for you and you will be right in here. So remember, you want your country to be United States, state to be Arizona. I think we all know how to do this part. And then remember that when you are typing in the school, you have to type out the word Westland the entire way. Then it will pop up with our school. We select it, click Next, and now we can put in our username and password. So remember that your username is going to be your school email. And if you forget your password or anything like that, you're going to have to click on Forgot Password because we cannot go into it on our own and change your password like we can with like PowerSchool or Galileo or any of that. So if you ever forget your password, that's what you're going to have to do, okay? So now, if you ever see any updates like this, you can read through it if you'd like to. You don't have to. I normally just ignore them, but if it is helpful for you, make sure you go ahead and read through those updates. And now we are going to talk about how we assign something like Waggle. So we've talked about Waggle a little bit. So Waggle is just that kind of fun, interactive game almost that you can assign for your students for different math. So if we go into my classes, we are going to be using my HMH training one, but essentially what you're going to do is you want to go into your view class, and then you're going to see these options right here. We're going to go into program settings, and you want to make sure that under mathematics, you have Waggle Math selected. Now, Waggle Math is going to be for kindergarten through 8th grade. For high school, we don't really get to use it, but for kindergarten through 8th grade, you get to. So once you make sure that's selected, you want to make sure you click Save and Update. I'm not able to click Save and Update because it's already pre-selected and I'm not making any changes. So now once you make sure that is selected, you're going to go into Discover. And then you want to make sure you're in HMH Resources. And you are going to search for Waggle in Select Programs. So there's this little down arrow right here. You're going to search until you see Waggle Math. So when we select Waggle Math, we can click on Waggle right here, and it's going to take us to a new tab. One thing you want to remember is do not close out your old tabs. This one we can close out because this is just the login part. But don't close out this tab right here because this is going to give us access to all of our other stuff without us having to re-log back in. So now, when we go back over here, we can see that these are the classes I have available in order to assign that. So right here, I have my grade level selected as 8th grade. Obviously, you're going to want to select the correct class according to your grade level. So if this was an 8th grade class, I'd choose 8th grade. If it was 5th grade, I'd choose 5th grade. If it was kindergarten, I'd choose kindergarten, so on and so forth. So let's say that we do 1st grade. And then, I have to assign one for this one as well, but we're not going to worry about that class. So it forces you to set it up before you do this, before you assign anything. So over here, we have our class, and then our subject, and then the grade. So I have books, so I can reference all of the books. We're going to ignore that one. We're only going to be paying attention to this HMH training. So right here, it has auto assign. So if you click on this little more info, it'll give you essentially what it says, more info. So auto assign is if you choose the MAP growth assessment by NWEA, your students will be placed in the Waggle scope and sequence based on their RIT scores. So that's only if they have all of this data inside of there. If it were up to me, or you can do it by their growth measure assessment or by their grade level, or you can just turn it off. And that is where you will be able to manually assign all of the content. So now, if you are going to be giving out the growth measure assessment, I would select this. This would be a great way. So this says missing student score data. That means none of the students that I have assigned to it have taken the growth measures. I'm just going to click OK. But if you are going to be using the growth measure assessment in HMH, this would be a great way for you to auto-assign any RTI activities for your students. So let's say you are doing math RTI 2 times a week. and you have a group of exceptionally low kids that you want to have the most work done with them, or you want to make sure they get as much attention as possible, I would choose this HMH growth measure assessment. I would select that, and then what ends up happening is it will assign all of the activities to your students based on the level they're at. So if you have really high students, they're going to start out high, and maybe if they're in first grade, they can start working on their second grade level skills, their third grade level skills, so on and so forth. And essentially what that does is it gives you a way to say, okay, we're starting our TI now, kiddos. These select students, you're going to go grab the laptops and you're going to log in to Waggle on HMH. These other kiddos, you're going to come to the back table with me. Or you can use it as a way to say, oh, you finished your assignment early? That's great. Go log into the laptop and do some Waggle activities. Work on your Waggle assignments, just like we do with reading eggs. So I actually used this when I was teaching fifth grade this last quarter, or these last 2 quarters, and it was actually really helpful because I did have about 3-4 students that would just finish assignments and tests super, super quickly because they were just on it ahead of the game, ahead of their peers. And it was really helpful because it kind of kept them from being rowdy or rambunctious when their other classmates were still working on assignments. And it actually kind of makes it a competition. So the kids actually really got into it and really wanted to beat each other. So now if you're going to be using that, that's what I would do it. So that way you don't have to assign it on your own. Now, if you want to use it as an actual, we'll click OK, as an actual assignment, or maybe as a way for subplans, I would click off. That way you can assign it as you need it or as you see fit. So if we do off, I'm going to show you how we assign that. So we have vocabulary supports. So it's exactly what it sounds like. It gives you little clues for students so that maybe they don't understand it. So vocabulary supports are available in practice assignments and are appropriate for all students, though not just your EL students. So maybe you have some students that are struggling with understanding what certain words mean, or you want to up their reading fluency. These vocabulary supports are actually going to be a great way to support that. Language supports are going to be for English learners. So this one is specifically for English learners. So these ones are appropriate for all students, but they are especially useful for English learners and those who could use extra reading supports. So they click on the underlined words to define challenging words like directions, idioms, multi-meaning words, grammar, and cultural references, which would be really great. So if we click to enlarge, we see right here the word missing is underlined. So if that student that's on this assignment clicks on missing, it's going to read to them, or it's going to explain to them what that word means, and it gives them context. And then we have Spanish cognate support. So we do get quite a few students that are English learners, but a high proportion of them, not all of them, but a high portion of them are Spanish-speaking English learners. So these ones are going to be Spanish cognate supports. So this is going to support Spanish-speaking students learning English academic words. So Spanish cognate supports are available in practice assignments and are appropriate for Spanish-speaking English learners. Students click the underlined words with Spanish cognate to help become more familiar with words with English academic terms. So right here, we see fraction in the shaded part. So when they click on fraction, it says a fraction is a number that names part of a whole or part of a group. Fraction in Spanish is fracción. So that's why it's called a cognate, because they sound near identical. So fraction, fracción. So that's going to be really helpful for any of your kiddos that need some extra EL support. And then you can customize for each individual class instead as well. So this is actually going to do it for both, let me exit out of here, for both of these grade levels. So if you don't want it, so let's say you have, for some reason you're teaching third grade and fifth grade math, and you want it to have 2 different settings. You would have to click that and then do that. But all of us only teach one grade level, so we should be good. Or one grade band, not grade level, excuse me. So we click on finalize. So now, because I chose to select off for those for the assignments, it's not going to show any assignments. So now right here, I'm in books, which I don't want to be in that. I want to be in my HMH training. And so now, again, it's not going to show anything because I selected the off option so that way I can manual assign assignments. Now, if you've taken the HMH assessment already, it's going to have all of these different summaries up already and good to go. So now, if we go ahead and we just start going through this, you can actually click on Review Guided Setup, and it'll give you step-by-step process. So if you want to look through there and watch that video, go ahead and do that. That's completely fine. Click on Next. I'm going to give Waggle. The step setup is complete. Then you click on your settings, all your additional help, and we click on Finish. Now, even when you go through that module, it's still always going to be up there. So if you ever need to reference something and maybe our training here doesn't really make sense, or you just want something that's quicker to access, you can just click that Review Guided Setup whenever you log into Waggle, and that works as well. So now, if I click into Settings, it's going to show me my settings. It's going to show me where I can go and change whether or not I want it to be manual assignments or based on their HMH growth measure reports. And then I can click on Rosters, and it'll give me my different rosters. So right here, this is my HMH training roster. So I gave different test students, and this is going to be where we have that. So we can click on View Profile, we can click View Report. So reports are going to give us insight on how well a student is doing based on whatever assignments they've completed. Now, if you want to switch between classes, so I could click on Brighton 5th grade and I'd be able to see all my students there. And I'm going to show you one of my students so we can look on View Report. But remember, you just click this little arrow up here. I'm not going to show you the student names just because we want to make sure we maintain privacy. So I'm going to pause and then we'll go back into it and I'll show you what a real student's report looks like. Alright, so I am in one of my 5th grade students' reports. So essentially what we did is we selected the right class. Off to the left-hand side, there was an option that says Skills Report. So that is what I clicked on. So we have track assignments, student report, skill report, and national standard report. Okay, I have it zoomed in just because I want to make sure we keep all of our students' names hidden. So now directly underneath that, we would have the student name, which is hidden up here above this banner. Then we have search skill name, export print, the student summary, the skill name, guided lesson score, independent practice, proficiency date, and the time on skill. So if I were to click export print, essentially what's going to happen is it's going to give me a file that I can download and keep for records. None of you are probably going to want to use that, but if you really want to and you want to have a really data-driven RTI or interventions or assignments or lessons, this would be a good way to do that so you can look at all the data all together. So now if I go down here, I see that this student has completed 27 assignments. They spend about 7 minutes in each lesson. They spend 56 minutes in practice, and they have spent a total of 5 hours and 46 minutes. So remember, these are averages for each of those assignments. So we have lessons, and then we have practice. So those are going to be two different things and two different activities that you can assign here. So right here, we have add fractions with unlike denominators. And on the guided lesson score, they got 3 out of 5, 60%. And then on the independent practice, they got not proficient. So that means that they're doing okay with some guidance on the lesson, but are they ready to be tested on it? Definitely not. That means they need some more practice. And then right here, add mixed numbers with unlike denominators, they got 5 out of 5. They got a perfect score on their guided lesson. That means they're doing great when they have guidance, but they did not do well on the independent practice. That means they are not ready to move on to a testing portion. You can see that interpret division of a unit fraction by a whole number and compute the quotients. So right here we see they got 30% and 56% on their lessons and then on their independent practice. But we can also see they only spent 6 minutes on it. So this may not be an accurate read. This student probably rushed through this lesson, and this is not an accurate interpretation. This one might be a little more accurate because it's 16 minutes. Obviously, are these all the available lessons in the 5th grade math modules? Definitely not. These are just the ones that I made sure were available to my students in case they ever finished. Because the majority of these were just for them to have something to do or as a skill refresher when I was not there to be in class, or if they finished what assignment we were working on quicker than the rest of their peers. So now we are going to go ahead and we're going to figure out how do we actually assign the assignments, because that's kind of what we're here for. So we click on Home. Make sure we're in that HMH training one for this one. We're going to go to Class Summary. We're going to click on Find Content up here at the top. And we're going to see all these different resources. Now, it says all resources are grade and subject. You can switch between any grade level. Let's say you have a 1st grader that is just like Matilda from the movie, and they're performing at an 8th grade level. You can give them 8th grade work, and that's completely fine. Because we are at the option where we can manually assign assignments. Now, can you manually assign assignments when you go by the HMH measure test? Yes, you can. It just might make it look a little bit weird to your students that you're manually assigning it to specifically, because they're going to see what's auto-assigned and then what you've also assigned to them. So just keep that in mind. So now we're in grade 1, so that's the grade level we assigned to it. You buy all resources. We can review based on different things. So domain, Intimath, GoMath, Math and Focus, so on and so forth. So in Waggle, we have access to all of these different math options that HMH offers. If you want to stick with just Intimath, you can do that because Intimath is the program that we use. So let's say you're on ways to add and subtract. You click this little arrow, and it's going to give you all of those little things right there. And so for 1st grade, it's going to give you little videos, so learn. Now, what if you want to see what it looks like? Well, if you click on this little arrow, it's going to give you the skills that are covered, and it's also going to give you an option to preview. So if we click on preview, it takes us directly to the lesson. And so now it's going to exactly what the kids are going to see when they go into this particular lesson. So we click on play.
Good morning. I need some help. I just checked on the chicks, and they've gotten mixed up in the coops. I think some might have even gone on an adventure.
Uh-oh.
So for the younger grades, obviously they're going to be a little more story-based, just to kind of help engage them with it. Now, if you have any students that are working way ahead of, or maybe you have a student that maybe has ADHD or is neurodivergent, and they need something going at a faster pace just to keep them engaged, they are able to select this 1x right here. This is the playback rate. This can speed up or slow down the video, how fast the video goes. And you can actually do that on these videos, on these training videos as well, because that's an option YouTube gives you. So when we click on that, let's say we have a student that needs to go through it a little bit faster. So let's try 1.5 when we click play.
We need to make sure all the chicks are here. Will you count them for me?
Wait, what?
I think we need to count the chicks in both coops to see if all the chicks are here.
I'm still so sleepy. Okay, I see 4 chicks in the 1st coop.
And there are 5 chicks in the 2nd coop.
I'm not going to make you go through and listen to that example, but that is how we would go through and we would see, does this make sense and will this work? And so essentially what you can do is you can go through the entire lesson.
Awake now.
And so now it's going to give them the option.
Ready to go?
Go to the
To
next
move
slide.
on, tap the arrow.
And it gives them little guidance things.
Count the animals to add. Tap the sum.
So now it's giving them little cues in order for them to follow so they can practice those skills. So they can go through 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. And then let's see what happens when they click on the wrong one. So they click 6. Let's see if they're correct. Input
Try again.
There
There are 6 cows. Find the total number of animals. Start at 6. Count on 3 more.
And so then it'll give them cues on what to do next. The other thing they can do is they can click this little.
Count the animals to add. Tap the sum.
to give them the cue that they need in order to keep going, or the direction again. And then right here, obviously the light bulb is going to be a hint.
Use the pictures to help you add. Count the total number of animals.
So that's going to be their hint. Click on 9. Excellent. That gives me a check mark.
Way to go. To move on, tap the arrow.
And so now they know, oh, I need to tap the arrow. And then they're going to go through it again.
Count the counters to add.
And click pause. And so that's where they can say, are they going to continue? Yes or no. And so now we're going to click back. We want to go back to our page that we were at. So now that we're back at this screen again, we can essentially go through and assign different assignments. And so right here, you'll see that there's a little checkbox. When I click that checkbox, this purple option for assigning students and dates is going to pop up. Now, if I have this checkbox selected, it is going to assign all 3 of these options. So use pictures and models to add to, use pictures and models to take from, and subtract to compare. If you don't want all 3 of those, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to use your filters and play around with those and assign them just one thing at a time. So let's say you still only want to worry about into math concepts or into math structure, because those are the books we use. So let's say you go into Unit 2, Addition and Subtraction, Situations and Data. You select that, and so now our only filters that we have are Learn, and I'm going to explain what the Learn and Skill Quiz filters mean in just a second. So right here, we see we have Module 5, we have Module 6, 7, 8, so on and so forth. So let's say you have a student that is working a little bit further along than their peers. So let's say they've really understood all of these understanding add to and take from problems, and you want them to move on to the next part, into the next module. What you can do is you select this checkbox right here off to the left, and you're going to click on Assign Students and Dates. Or maybe you want a couple students to work completely ahead. You just select all of those. Now, some of them will not be available. It might be because it's just not available for this particular grade level, or maybe they don't have videos for this one, whatever it may be. If it's grayed out, you can't use it. So now that we've checked off the boxes we want to assign, we click on Assign Students and Dates. And now I can see the start date for all of them, the due date, and the assign to. So if you only want this for one particular student and you want them to only work on it for a particular day, just one day in particular, you're going to want to change the start date and the due date to match what you would like. And then if you don't want it to the entire class, where it says Assign to Class, you're going to click on Class, and you want to select the students. You want to check mark this box next to name, and you want to select the actual student you want it to assign it to. So let's say you want it to do the test student in high school. You click Save and Assign. So now it only does it for that one particular assignment. Now, what if you want to update multiple dates? Well, click right there, and you're able to choose it for all the ones that you select. So let's say you want to update just these 2 right here. Now, when you go in and check the assignments, you can go through and select what days you would like it to work with. And then you click on Save, okay? Or you can click Cancel. And so now, what if you want to do a skill quiz? Maybe you don't want your students to use any of the learning videos because you don't like the way they explain things. So you can click on Skill Quiz, and it's only going to give you the skill quizzes that you have available. Now, if you want skill quizzes that are for just into math, you would have to click into math. And do you notice how that little filter goes away? That means it's going to vary based on each unit. So if I click in here, there's only Learn. If I click into Unit 3, only Learn. Into 4, I only have the Learn option, so on and so forth. Although there's still practice with those Learn videos for the into math, there's no just straight skill practice as like a quiz. So now if I go into all resources, now I have that filter back again to be just a skill quiz. Again, if you want to check the skill quiz, you click this little eye icon and you click on preview, and it'll take you to the skill quiz so you can preview it. Now, let's say you just finished doing addition word problems, and you want the kids to practice on it. You don't want it to be a formal test, but maybe as a little mini quiz. So you click on this check mark next to the assignment you want. You click on Assign Students and Dates. You make sure the start and due dates are the correct dates that you want. You click the correct assignments. And so you click right here. You'll also see that you have an All Students option. If you create groups, I'm pretty sure groups will pop up here as well. And then you just want to make sure everything is assigned the way you like it. You click Save and Assign. You click Done. And it has now been assigned. But it will take about 5 minutes or so to show up for the students. So if you were going to be using this for an assignment, for a lesson, make sure that you do it about 5 to 10 minutes before you start class. Now that we've assigned an assignment, let's say you want to see how far along have students gone in those particular assignments. So we're going to come up here to Home again. And we're still in the correct class, HMH training, and we see that we have our students. Now, is there going to be any activity? No, because these aren't real students. They're not actually working on anything. But what you'll be able to see is, have my students actually gone in and done these assignments? Now, obviously for first or second grade or kindergarten, you're not going to be hounding them to do their assignments. But if they're in 5th grade or 7th grade, you can expect them, you can reasonably expect them to go in there and do some of their assignments during their free time. Or if you're assigning it as an option during RTI and they're not working on them, that's going to be a good way to say, hey, I can see you didn't do any of these assignments. What were you doing during that time you were supposed to be on HMH? So this is a good way to kind of track our students and make sure they're doing what they need to be doing. And then once you're done, all you have to do is you click Log Out, or you can exit out of here in this tab, and you are back in your HMH home screen, and you can go and do whatever else you may need or want to do with your curriculum.